Hey everybody, welcome back to Recenr Reads. My name is Rachel. I love to read and write Christian fiction, and today I'm going to be doing Recent Reads number 6, and I will be talking about 15 books in today's video. And if you've been kind of following the Recent Reads updates, I am almost done with all the books that I am behind on. I'll probably have 2 more Recent Reads for this year. I don't know when they'll come out though. It could be next year, but we're doing good and we'll almost be done soon. So the first 5 books are all by the same author, and that is because I did have Kindle Unlimited during the summer. But those books are the last 3 books in the Return to the Four Kingdoms, and that is The Golden Princess. I gave this book 4 stars. The Rogue Princess, 4.75 stars. And The Abandoned Princess, 4.75 stars, and those are all by Melanie Sellier. So the first one, The Golden Princess, is an Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves.
Well, Ali Baba, he had them 40 thieves.
And it is a retelling of that, and it's the first one I've ever read of that specific retelling, and I found it really interesting. It's definitely not my favorite in the series, but I did enjoy it, and it was a really good book, and I just love Melanie Sellier's writing and her fairy tale style, so I enjoyed it. Just 4 stars though. The next one was The Rogue Princess, and this book was just hilarious. I loved the male main character. He was just very funny, and the female main character and the male main character together was just very funny. They were sarcastic. The female main character was sometimes a little overbearing, but I really did enjoy it, and the cat character Puss was absolutely hilarious. Any animal from the Palace of Light is just really funny, and yeah, I love their characters, and it was a really good book. And the last book in that series is The Abandoned Princess, which this is a Rapunzel retelling. More than likely my favorite. If you saw last week's video, you saw some of my favorite fairy tale retellings, so go watch that if you haven't. But this is my favorite Rapunzel retelling. I love the way it was done. I love some of the humor and how our main characters met. There's a certain moment that Melanie Sellier just did really well, and that really won over the book for me. This was 4.75 stars, and just a great finish to the whole series, which led into the final duology in the Four Kingdoms world, which is sad. I did not want this world to be over, because this is what got me into fairy tale retellings. But the final duology is a retelling of East of the Sun and West of the Moon. The first book is To Ride the Wind. I gave this 4.75 stars, and I really enjoyed this book. My favorite character, I believe, was Charlotte and her love interest. I love their dynamic. It's one of my favorite tropes. I loved how they were together and how emotionally devastating it was to read the ending. But again, I also love our other couple. Another one of my favorite tropes. The beginning was a little bit slow for those characters, but it really did pick up, and I liked how we focused some more on some of their aspects. And it was a really good series. If you've never read East of the Sun and West of the Moon, even just like a Wikipedia summary, it's very interesting. You can kind of see some inspiration from that story, and other stories have taken inspiration from that. Really crazy, but I did enjoy it. In book 2, Distill the Sun, I gave 5 stars. It was just a beautiful ending to this world. Everything really comes full circle. I can't spoil it what comes full circle, but it's just really amazing, and I love it. If you haven't read any Melanie Sellier, I would really recommend starting with her Princess and the Pea retelling, which is The Princess Companion. The next book I read was Wolf Soldier by James R. Hannibal. Yes, this is the same author as the Talia Inger series, which I wish would continue. But this is a YA fantasy published through Enclave. In my Goodreads review, I mentioned this is essentially a Pilgrim's Progress meets Lord of the Rings in different elements, but I love the adventure. This is really good for guys who are looking for good Christian books. I know there's not a lot out there, and I know there are guys out there who want to read good Christian books, and this is a really good one. I enjoyed it fairly well. I did only give it 3.75 stars. It was a little bit slow in some areas, and some areas I didn't completely understand, but I did still enjoy it. It's a different tone from its normal suspense books, but I love a good fantasy world and fantasy story, so this is just really interesting, and I would like to continue in the rest of the series. So yeah. The next book I read is Embrace the Dawn by Kathleen Morgan. This is a book I picked up at a thrift store because I saw it and I saw that Tyndale published it, so I knew they were a Christian publisher. Looked it up on Goodreads, and Reese from the writing Songbird had reviewed it and gave it 5 stars. So I was really interested in picking it up because someone gave it 5 stars. So I did. I picked it up and I read it, and it was interesting. This deals a lot with Scottish and Irish inspiration, so if you really want to learn about some of that history but in a fictional world, this one does it really well. And this follows our main character, Killian, and this does have some family drama and just, I guess, family issues. I would look into some of the trigger warnings. It should be in my Goodreads review. I gave this 3.75 stars. I did enjoy it. I feel like it dragged in some places, and some of it was just kind of like bothersome for me, but there were some things that I did really enjoy about it. There were some great faith moments. There was a preacher in here, I'm pretty sure, and he was a pretty good character from what I remember. And our male main character is Rurik. He was very interesting. This has some similar Beauty and the Beast vibes, so if you kind of want a Scottish version, maybe try this. The next book I have to talk about is Daughter of Rome by Tessa Afshar. Gorgeous cover, but sad news. I did TNF this book. There was an issue I had with this book that I did not really like. For one, this is kind of Aquila and Priscilla's story before we meet them with Paul, but there was a certain issue I had with one of the characters that I was like, why would you do this? Character got over it, so it was fine. And then some more things happened. I was like, okay, not my favorite thing to see in a book, but it's not like, you know, it didn't go beyond the line. And then there was language in the book, which I'm kind of shocked. I don't know. I really am shocked that it was in there. Some people really could argue that it was used in context, but in my opinion, it's just unnecessary. The next book I read after that was a reread, but that was Crossfire by Lynette Eason. This is my favorite in the Extreme Measures, mostly because of the faith content. There are some really great faith discussions and just talking about trusting God and how He works in our lives that I really enjoyed, and was just amazing to see. I have loved Lynette Eason's books for a while and just grown to love her books more and more. And as a reread, it did not disappoint. I gave it 5 stars again. The next book I read, and don't come after me for the rating, but that was The Noble Servant by Melanie Dickerson. I gave this book only 3 stars. Don't hate me. It's not that I didn't like this book. I'm planning on keeping it. I love the first half. If you read my Goodreads review, you know I love the first half of this book. It was so entertaining, and I love the way that she was writing this Goose Girl retelling. It was exactly how I wanted it. And then we got to the second half of the book when things took a turn and our characters were stuck in the same situation probably like 3 times or more. And the situation was bothersome. It didn't cross a line like at all. It's a YA, so it's like really just kind of clean and cheesy. But it happened like 3 times and I'm like over it. But again, like I said, I love the first half of this book. It was so good. Exactly what I wanted to see in a Goose Girl retelling. I loved our characters. Even the evil characters were done really well. Character development for the win in this book. But at one point it just bothered me. And there was some like more Catholic leaning faith. I just wanted to note that, which I found interesting. And again, I love the cover. Her dress is gorgeous. The next book I read was Queen of the Waves by Janice Thompson. This is historical fiction with some romance in it, and it is Christian. So this takes place in 1912, and this surrounds the Titanic and the sinking of the Titanic. And I gave this book 3.5 stars. Some of it I really enjoyed. Some of the aspects. There was a preacher character in here that I really liked. The male main character I liked. The female main character I really enjoyed, but the side story ruined it. Like, it did not go how I wanted it to go, and it bothered me. And it may just be a me thing, it probably is, but it really just bothered me that it happened, and I was like, why would you write this in a book? So that's kind of why it brought it down. It really ruined it for me. But again, I love the main timeline we were following, or the main plot line we were following on the Titanic. So I enjoyed that, and for that, good book, good faith content, Janice Thompson romance. The next book I read was To Capture His Heart by Nancy Campbell Allen. This is book 2, but I just give the other books for personal reasons. But this was a recommendation from Lindsay over at Lindsay from BFCG. She had read this whole series, and this book was her favorite. I found the whole series at my library. This is the only one that I read of that series. I did really enjoy it. And I gave it 4.25 stars. Our main female character was a photographer, and I really love seeing that aspect in a historical setting. This is just a really great historical mystery. It has the fake dating trope in a historical setting, so points for that. Just really good. The next book I want to talk about is The Roads We Follow by Nicole Deese. This is a DNF for me. There was a really big content issue that I was not okay with. Could have been prevented. The next book I read was Trust the Stars by Tricia Goyer. I gave this 4.25 stars, and this is just a really sweet book. This does take place in 2 different timelines. One is in like 1944, I believe, about a princess in a concentration camp, which got more interesting, I think, the further along the book got, but it did take a while, and I kind of skimmed those chapters. But our main plot line follows Olivia, who has like a secret YouTube channel where she talks about her family history, but she has a really big heart and does a lot of outreach with like the youth and teenagers. And then our male main character is a prince from another country who happens to meet Olivia, and they just they spark a relationship that just is really, really cool. And I love how everything started and how comfortable they were with each other. But then things just kind of kept going, and it was really interestingly done. The romance came off extremely strong, but then like backed off and was really clean. And again, I really enjoyed it. A good book. The last book I want to talk about in today's video is A Lady's Guide to Marvels and Misadventure by Angela Bell. If you've heard me talk about this at all, I love this book so much.
And I love you.
It could be a 6-star read. I just love it. It was whimsical and imaginative. It's in historical London, but also kind of like in Paris, in Germany, Luxembourg. You travel a lot with this book, and there are some Nutcracker inspirations, almost like 80 Days Around the World. Just a lot of so many good things. I loved our 2 main characters, how they were. I think it was Clara, I think that was her name. Her dynamic was just so interesting, and I loved her character so much. I related to her literally so much. She was just amazing. And then our male main character, I can't think of his name, which is horrible, but I loved him too. There was a faith moment that like could have brought me to tears. It was just really good. I love the Christian aspects of this book. The romance was amazing. There's just so many cool things about this book. Now on to the books I'm currently reading. In my Bible, I'm kind of in a mix of things. I'm in the middle of James 1, but I'm also reading 1 Samuel, and I probably will go to 2 Samuel as well. I just kind of wanted to reread and dive into the stories and the characters in there. But I am reading The Elusive Miss Ellison by Carolyn Miller. This is a book I found at my library. Decided to pick it up on a whim, and so far it is amazing. I want to talk about it a lot, but like in a short kind of synopsis for me, kind of feels like Pride and Prejudice, but in a more like readable way, and it's Christian, which is just amazing. That is all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope God blesses you today. I do my best to post Tuesdays at 12:30, and I'll see you next time. Bye!